Hello, listeners. This is the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast. And I have the honor of being here with Lori and Ann. And today we have another great topic that we are going to discuss about who would we have helped missing if we hadn't gone through some experience. And typically an adversity, because that's where we tend to learn the most is through an adverse experience. Now we can learn through positive experiences too, but at least for me, I tend to learn the most from the adverse experiences in my life. And so who would we have missed out on helping if we didn't have that experience? So that is a deep philosophical question that we are going to solve all the world's problems today in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Exactly.
So, any stories come to mind, ladies?
Well, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, coaching women in corporate, if I didn't go through some really horrible, um, times where I wasn't taking care of myself. And one was I was working so hard, so many hours. I was trying to do work, but also I had my own home, I had a yard, I had family, and it was so overwhelming. One morning I came in here to work and I couldn't even touch the keyboard. I just cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I had to call in, and I think we might have talked about this before with a mental health day because I couldn't get any work done. There was no way I could get any work done. And another time I worked myself so hard that I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, like moving furniture because I wanted to get it done, right? I was going to New York for work. I wanted to get it done before that. So when I came home, everything was all nice. I didn't ask for help and I threw my back out. And I still went to New York on a plane with luggage and sitting. I ended up having to call an ambulance one night in New York. If you are ever in New York and you have a bad back, do not ever call an ambulance because talk about the potholes and the pain. Like when you're in pain and they're like flying down these streets and you're like stop. But that was 3 months of recovery where I could do nothing except lay on my couch and go through physical therapy and traction. I had to give up a trip to Ireland because my doctor said you cannot go on a plane for 6 or 7 hours and you wouldn't survive. So these are things I had to give up, the pain I had to go through, because I didn't say no, because I didn't set boundaries, because I had it in my head that this stuff had to be done before I went on a stupid. We either don't make the right decisions or I'm going to say I made stupid decisions. And my body finally said, whether it's my physical body or my emotional body finally said enough. And it will force you to stop.
Yeah. And now, because of all of those lived experiences coupled with your, I don't want to call it academic experience, because you've done so much learning, you're certified in so many different things. That has driven your passion to help women not have to experience any of those things that you went through so they can avoid that. And if women have experienced those things and don't want to experience them again, you have the expertise, the wisdom, and the experience to go with it, to
Yes.
say, look, none of us have a crystal ball to, know what tomorrow's going to bring, but you're headed down a path you don't want to go down. And Lori can help you get off that path.
Yeah,
Onto a
yeah,
path.
exactly. And sometimes, a lot of times it's just having that conversation of, do you really have to do that right now? What would be the worst thing that would happen if
Yeah.
you didn't do that?
Yeah. I think of, I'm hearing you say that there's a Toby Keith song, and there's a line in his song that, would it change the course of fate if cutting grass just had to wait? And I think about that, and it's like, is the trajectory and the path that God has set forth for my life going to change if I don't do the dishes right now? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if they wait till tomorrow, is the course of my life going to change so dramatically because I delayed moving a couch or washing the dishes or cutting the yard or whatever?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's why my office is not always as clean as it should be. Oops.
And can you think of anything for yourself?
So I have had people tell me that
Oh, Anne's having a little
maybe
trouble
not that
with.
I directly help them, but they liked being around me because I'm positive.
Hmm.
So that, yeah, sorry, it's freezing. So my positivity has helped people. I don't know, how many, but I used to think that my story was going to be talking about the negative things that had happened and actually detailing the negative things. And I'm glad that never took off for me, because now I can take, that's not the story I want to tell. The story I
Hmm.
want to tell, I want to gloss over all that negative stuff and share the positive stuff that I've learned and how I think and how I behave, and be a light to somebody. I don't want to focus on the
Yes.
negativity that got me here. So I was always really glad that I never ended up being a real, suicide prevention speaker or some of those things, because it would have
Hmm.
been, I think I would have just been living in the muck, which clearly is not good for me. But yeah, to be able to say, I helped Jane Doe on this day with this, that I don't know that I can do.
Yeah. Well, and just being a role model for women who have gone through some adversarial life's experiences that, um, for some, has kept them in the muck, but you chose a different way. And your strength
Yes.
and your courage and your positivity and your light, shows women that it's possible and it happens, and you can make different decisions. And now it takes work, right? Like, you didn't just snap your finger and be that way, or maybe you did.
It took years and years and years, but it's okay to know the muck is still there. And if somebody has questions, I'll certainly answer them, but that's not the story I want to tell.
Right.
The story I want to tell is being clear on the other side of the cliff
Yeah.
from what started it all.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all, reframing in perspective is so important, because, it's the proverbial glass half full, glass half empty. It's like, how
Right.
do you see, it's the exact same glass with the exact same amount of water, but how do you perceive it, or what's your view on that glass? And, a lot of times it is a conscious choice, because some people are very comfortable in the muck, um, and some people are like, heck no, get me out of this. I need to be free. These are anchors holding me back, and I want to cleanse myself and move on. Lori,
Mhm.
I feel like you were going to say
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, I was just going to say, Anne, you do help a lot of people because as a real estate agent, you were just talking about you've got these closings coming up. You help people find their house that works for them, and that's a joy. I mean, it goes along with what you're saying of being that light and being that joy. And you do that in the work that you do with your real estate business. So you do help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just, I don't have a tally in my head with names and
Yeah.
Yeah,
faces.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
And
you're not
even
going to
as
list it for us, and we'll put it in the comments.
and as a a social worker, when I was in that world for 28 years, um, I feel like I helped a lot of people, and I have a lot of I'll say case studies around the young women who I was working with, who um, they will say, that I positively impacted their life in a massive way, and just different kinds of things. And a lot of it was because I was now they teach you in social work school that you're supposed to set healthy boundaries and you're not supposed to talk about your personal life. And I was like, you know what? You know me, I'm a little bit or a lot of bit of a rule breaker. And I would say, I get it, because when I was your age, I experienced something similar to that, you know and so I, on some level, I do understand where you're coming from, what you're going through, and I was never one to tell people what to do. I can say, I can just tell you what worked for me. And so let's, how can we find out those things that are going to work for you? And I really feel like, we've talked about being Christians on this podcast, and I really feel like, um, at least for my life, God has put me in some real adversarial situations so that my strength would get stronger, my light would get brighter, my knowledge would get deeper, my own thinking would get challenged, my expertise would grow. I mean, and even though it was gross going through it and yucky and hurtful and painful and all the stuff we don't like, but coming out on the other
Yes.
side, I feel like I'm um, more well-rounded, and I have another story to tell. Now sometimes I get tired of collecting the stories because life,
100%.
life can get really heavy at the moment. Because right now I have a lot of stories going on in my personal
You
life right
do.
now.
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
I'm kind of tired of the stories, but there's clearly a reason. And God, please don't let it be that you're trying to teach me how to cook. That's all I
Or grocery shop.
And John's praying, God, please teach her how to cook.
like, no, I want to cancel that prayer of John's. Yeah.
You just pray a little louder.
But listeners, we would love to hear, if you have a poignant story in your life that, where you went through something, and because of that experience, you were able to make an impact. And sometimes I think we can minimize the impact that we do make, and just, I don't want to say, I don't like the word just, because I think just minimizes. But even yesterday, when I was at the grocery store for 2.5 hours, helping an elderly man, he was trying to get something, and it wasn't from the top shelf, but he was kind of hunched over and he couldn't quite reach it. And so, because I have the gift of, mobility and being able to reach up and grab it and bring it down for him, that little act of kindness, he was like, thank you so much. And, he was just so grateful and stuff. And I even said, I'm like, if you need help, like, I will kind of like go with you. And he said, no. And then I got to hear a little bit about his story and different kinds of things. And so, just sometimes being at the right place at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
making the time, and what an impact a small gesture of pulling a box of cereal off of a shelf can make for someone.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
that
I
was
do,
nothing to you, but that might have been the only time anybody
Oh,
helped
yeah.
him that day.
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
true.
And I do believe God gives us um, challenges so that we learn and we grow, so that we do learn these things like how to get out of the muck and to learn how to just be nice to someone in the grocery store. Because maybe it happened to you where, like I had shoulder surgery and it wasn't always easy for me to reach up.
Mm,
And, so we get adversities. Is it because we're bad? No, I believe it's because we're here to learn something. And when we look at even things like people say, oh, I'm on this path, and then, but there's one thing after another that's not working right, and they get frustrated. And it's like, yeah, but are you still excited about this? What are you learning along the way? This
yeah.
is how, we have to ask ourselves, do we still really want to do this? Or is maybe the universe telling us that it's not right for us? Or maybe the universe is saying, hey, this is your path, but there's somebody you need to meet over here. So I'm
Yeah.
going to take you off that path a little bit, meet that person who's going to help you go even farther.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't know, but going along with what Anne was saying, having that positivity and knowing that there's something here for me, there's something for me to learn for some reason. And hey, can I say stuff happens?
Yes, shit
Shit
happens.
happens. I guess it's
Yes,
our podcast. We can say whatever we
yes,
want.
yes. Um, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like the temptation is to wish it away. I wish I wasn't going through this. I wish this, or don't wait till you're on the other side. Like, spend some time trying to figure as you're going through it, how could I handle this better? How could I, like, try and teach yourself as you're going through it instead of waiting till the other side and then going, oh, okay, that's what I was supposed to learn.
Right.
Or, or wishing it away and diminishing what you're learning along the way. And maybe all you're learning is not to kill somebody, or, to be patient, or take it as a win.
yes. Well, and I'm a firm believer, and I believe I've said this, or I believe we've even talked about this on the podcast previously, is, we can't experience joy if we've never experienced sadness. We can't experience, strength if we haven't experienced weakness. I mean, so, we have to, um, in order to experience the really amazing things in life, we have to experience their opposites so that we can truly appreciate the
Mhm.
positivity and the strength and the courage and the kindness and just different kinds of really positive things that we experience, joy, and if we haven't experienced the opposite of it.
Right.
um, and it makes us, at least for me, it makes me appreciate those times of joy and those moments that are light and fun and exciting and all that kind of stuff, because I know what it feels like to be in the muck, to use Anne's word.
Yeah.
And you never know who you're helping. You don't know who you're setting an
Right.
example for. You don't know who's
Mhm.
watching. And we've talked about the alligators,
Yes.
before, that there's
Mhm.
always people watching you, and you don't know they're watching, and they may not even realize why they're watching,
Mm-hmm.
that they're
Mhm.
watching.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. What? Yeah.
Yeah. And even simple things like, I'll be walking along, I'll talk grocery stores here because Angie hates them. Uh,
I love them.
but well, I don't, well, I'm kind of in between, but it's something falls off the shelf. So somebody walks past, it falls off the shelf. Well, they didn't pick it up. Okay, well, I'll pick it up.
Right.
So like you said, people are watching and being a good example. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter who knocked it off the shelf. Yes, it would be nice if you knock it off the shelf that you pick it up, but
Right.
it doesn't get picked up, so pick it up instead of like, hey, you get back here and pick that up. Yeah.
Yes. Try to leave the place better than when you came,
Yes.
kind of a
Yes.
thing. Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that goes for every place. I mean, not just grocery stores and, you know,
Yep. And I don't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast or just in a personal conversation, but you can tell a lot by a person's character is what they do with their cart, no matter what kind of store
um,
it is. If they
yeah.
just leave their cart willy-nilly wherever it lands, whatever, if it
Mhm.
bumps into someone's car, whatever, they're driving away, or if they go the extra mile to put it in the cart rack or take it back to the store or whatever, you can tell a lot about a person's character just on how they behave in a parking lot.
Yeah.
um, and do they look for humans before they come zipping out of their parking space, or do they, because I mean, I'm not kidding. I felt like I was playing Frogger with my life, taking my grocery cart to my vehicle because people were not paying attention. And I was like, holy moly. Yeah. Oh, look, I was not cut
That's
out for
hilarious.
this. Let me just.
Oh, you're
Uh,
funny. But
but
the things you learn at a grocery store,
the
like how
things
to
you
play
learn in the grocery
Frogger.
store. Yes. Yes. I learned how to play Frogger. Mhm. Yeah, and then yes. Well, anyhow, I could digress on that topic, but but the point of our
Yeah.
conversation today, to just circle it back around, is you know look, life can be hard. It can
Mhm.
really, really be hard, and all of us have a story. Each and every one of you have a
Mhm.
story, and you've gone through some stuff. We've all gone through some stuff, and instead of, like Anne said, wishing it away, really take the time to say, it, you can't change it, it's already happened.
Mhm.
So now you have a choice. You can choose to get stuck in the mire and just stay down there. And to me, this is just my perspective, is that's a yucky place to be. And to me, it makes things heavier. And it just, and when you're stuck, you're not growing, you're not learning. And it's just not a healthy place to be. But you can take your experience and say, okay, what did I learn from that, and how does that improve my character or my learning or my growth development. And you never know when, and it could be 10 years from now, that you're meeting someone for the first time, and you have the opportunity to help them because you had
Yes.
that experience.
Yes.
You never know. um
And I just a quick I there's a difference between getting stuck in the muck and grieving,
oh,
because
good
we
point.
do need to allow ourselves to feel the loss, whatever that loss is, and each loss has a personal different amount of grieving that's necessary.
Mhm.
So it is, I jokingly talk to my nieces sometimes and say, put your big girl pants on and get on with it. But and that's fine for certain stuff, but um, there's grieving, and there's also looking at what could I have done differently. I had an experience where a friend of mine was kind of pushing me into applying for this job, computer job, and I already had a job I liked, and blah blah blah. But I did all the things, and did a presentation to try and get the job, and I didn't get it. I was second. They said they hired somebody else who just had a little more background. I didn't get it. And when I was driving to my other job, which I loved, as I'm passing the exit that I would have gone to if I had gotten the job that I was applying for, and my heart sunk. And something in me said, Lori, you should be going east, not west. And it was so strong. And now I could have taken that and I could have said, oh, damn it, and beat myself up. But instead, I'm like, okay, now I know I'm getting this signal. So point one is when you get those signals, take them seriously.
Mm.
And then the other was, okay, now what can I do to turn it around? And I sent a nice note. Back then, you sent notes.
Yeah.
A nice note, a handwritten note saying, I really appreciate you taking me into consideration. And, I really am interested. I'm sorry I didn't show that my actions didn't show that I had that much interest, but I really have interest. So if something comes up, please keep me in mind. 2 weeks later, the guy they hired left for another job. And I got
Oh,
hired. And that was my last job in corporate that I had for 24 years.
wow.
That I got to travel literally around the world. I met some of the best people, all kinds. So these little, like when you
Wow.
get these little sparks, listen to them. And things, that taught me that I really didn't put my heart and soul into the process of being interviewed. And that taught me, look, put your whole self into it.
Mm.
Take it seriously or don't do it at all. No, I'm glad I did it. Maybe not don't do it at all, because I'm glad I did it. So strike that. Can we erase that part now?
Beep.
Yes. But listeners, please definitely share, and if we can be supportive of you in, perhaps you're going through something right now. All three of us have had some we've had similar life experiences, some we've had vastly different life experiences. And if you've been watching the show for any amount of time, we've been pretty vulnerable and shared. And so if we can be helpful, supportive to you in any way, please reach out. Let us know. We would be glad to do that. And, and then be grateful. Be grateful that you get to be in a position to help someone else based on what you have experienced. And I know that can be it can be hard to be grateful when you're going through it, but when you come out on the other side, be grateful for the experience, because then you get the pleasure and the honor of being able to pay it forward.
I remember the first time that the light at the end of the tunnel was actually a light at the end of the tunnel and not a train trying to run me over. And it was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. And that took years.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's finally a light.
Yes. Beautiful.
I like that. I like that.
For sure.
That inspires me.
Yeah, truly.
Really.
Truly. Yes. And just listeners, just to give you a little bit of an idea with Anne, like whenever we're coming up with show topics, like if we come up with something, she'd be like, well, that sounds a little bit negative, so we need to flip it to the positive. I mean, so when she talks about how she sees things and she tries to be positive, she's not kidding.
Yes.
That is true. I do that. And I do it with everybody. I'm like, now how can we reframe that? And they're like, Anne, shut up. I just want to order a burger.
But it's beautiful. I mean, it's such a beautiful gift to be able to reframe things with that positivity and that light. So I appreciate it that you do that and you share that gift with us.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I will tell you a quick story. I was telling a friend of mine this story. I'm like, so I tell my Australian Shepherd because she's super food motivated, but Dolce, don't even think about it. And I follow it up with, you can think whatever you want, just don't do it. I literally talk to my dog. Like, I am so consistent. I even talk to my animals like that. I can't control what you think. Just don't do it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm broken.
I love it. No, not at all.
No, it's
Not at all.
beautiful.
Are a beautiful light.
Yes, for sure. So, listeners, until next time, please reach out if we can be at all helpful. But until next time, this is the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast.
And we love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.